Once a decision's been made on the candidate that you want to hire, it now falls to you, the hiring manager, to close the deal. Since this involves a number of skills and abilities, this will be a challenging time for any manager, especially with candidates who may have other offers. Among the skills needed are the need to be totally prepared, a strong people orientation, knowing how to negotiate, and the ability to resolve conflicts. And then understanding that the recruiting process is not complete until the new hire is at work. Hi, I'm Rick Kendall.
And I'm Fred Ball.
Welcome to Management Mastery. The purpose of these podcasts is to share what each of us has learned about good and bad management in our combined over 40 years of experience, both as managers and executive coaches. During that time, we've coached managers at every level in companies from Fortune 100s to brand new startups in all major businesses, including nonprofits, government, and education. So whether you're just starting in your first management position or are an experienced manager looking to strengthen your management skills, we know our podcast will be valuable to you.
Once you've decided upon a candidate, your ability to sell the top candidate on accepting the position in your company and department becomes critical, just as Rick was saying. It's important to always assume that a top candidate may have more than one offer to consider, and the way that you handle making your offer will go a long way to determining whether you're able to land them.
You want to be well prepared before you make your offer to the candidate. I mean, first, if at all possible, you want to meet face to face with the candidate. Sometimes that's just not possible, but try to make it happen. And before that, you want to remind yourself of the candidate's interests and goals that you learned about during the interviews. Ideally, you want to review these with your hiring team before the meeting, as well as be prepared to talk about these interests when you describe the job to the candidate during your offer meeting.
I just want to go back and look at what Rick said about meeting face to face with the candidate. You want to do that if at all possible. And sometimes what it means is that you, the manager, have to reach out further than you might like. It might be driving 10 miles or 15 miles, but having a face-to-face meeting dramatically shows a respect to the candidate and the fact that you're really interested in them. It's likely that in most cases, you and the candidate will have already spoken about salary to some degree previously to discover if their needs are within your potential salary range. Even if you've discussed salary needs, you need to be sure to do your research on what the organization is willing to pay an outstanding candidate. Some key considerations on this often are the job's relative position in the organization's corporate structure, the market value for the position when attracting an A player, the current compensation of the candidate, and the budget of the department.
And also, you want to review what you understand the candidate is looking for in this position so that you can stress those items in describing the position, to reinforce to the candidate that this job is giving them what they're looking for.
At the meeting, whether in person or virtual, demonstrate a warm, welcoming orientation right from the start. Don't assume that any relationship building you've done in your prior meetings will automatically carry you through any negotiations. Assume that every meeting is different. If the meeting is in person, welcome the candidate with warmth, a smile, and a firm handshake. Do some rapport building. Make small talk about your last meeting, the commute, a recent activity, or anything else that's appropriate.
Yeah, and you want to be sure to tell the candidate right from the beginning how excited you and your team are about the possibility of having them join the team and why you want them. I mean, review some of the candidate's strongest skills and how they'll help your team, and remind them of the new skills, learnings, and experience they'll gain by joining your team.
One of the things to keep in mind is that you want to make the job you're offering come alive. And it's far more appealing to be specific. For example, what job will they fill? Who will be their boss if not you? At which location, if different from where you are? Whether they'll have an office or a cubicle. And you want to remind them of the kinds of skills that they'll learn in the first 6 months.
Right, Fred. And I think it's important to try to anticipate, if you don't already know, if any of these things are potential negatives to the candidate, so you can deal with that. Um, that feeling about any if there may be reservations about who their boss will be if it's not going to be you, or if they're going to be in a separate location and you think that may be a negative. You want to stress the positive aspects of any of those factors. And
That's exactly right. And that's going back to what we said in the beginning when we said the ability to resolve either conflicts or confusions.
right. And remember, you're going to present them with an offer they may or may not accept.
Yes, that's an important point, and the reason for you being in a relaxed state and able to welcome them, be warm, um, and make them feel comfortable.
Right.
So let's move on to actually making the offer and, if needed, negotiating. When you sense that you've covered why you're interested in the candidate, why you feel it's a great fit for them, talking to them about the job, you want to move smoothly into the presentation of the offer. Again, let the candidate know how excited you are at making them this offer.
And you want to tell the candidate the compensation you're prepared to offer, including all the benefits, the bonus structure, if any, how it'll work in their position, as well as details about health benefits and all the other benefits. So, don't assume they know these things. And it's always good to kind of just reinforce them, go over them. And when you're covering vacation time, be sure to ask them if they've scheduled any vacations that would be booked during the transition or when they would be joining, and discuss how that would be covered, how you would handle that.
Then you want to take the time to answer any questions that the candidate has. Don't rush this part. Part of this showing your skills and abilities to be a good hiring manager is to know when to just take the patience and give the candidate a chance. Perhaps they might have some silence. Perhaps they might want to think out loud. Let them do that. Don't rush this part. Be a compelling salesperson. That's what this is on behalf of your organization, yet promise only what you can deliver.
Oh, absolutely. So if the candidate accepts your offer as presented, great. However, if the candidate wants some time to think the offer over, give it to them. But establish a time that they'll get back to you. Don't leave it open ended. Say, I'd like you to get back to me by this date, or negotiate that time. But make sure when they leave the room, there's a clear understanding of when they're going to come back with their answer.
That's exactly right. You need to know that, because if they accept your offer, it's one thing, but if they reject you, you're going to want to move on to other candidates.
Oh, yeah.
If the candidate wants clarification or to negotiate, your patience again will be critical at this point. If they want clarification, listen carefully to what they have to say, show an ability to resolve issues if reasonable. If it's clarification of the job or job duties, clear up the issue or ask for additional time to possibly make changes.
And if the candidate wants to negotiate, don't assume that the issue will always be salary. Um, have the candidate put everything on the table at one time, and be clear that there won't be any add ons later. In other words, you want to say, look, um, I understand you've got some wants here, and I want to respond to them, but let's get them all on the table right now because we can't come back and add to the list later on.
That's exactly right. And that can be frustration on either the candidate's part or the hiring manager's part. If all of a sudden the candidate comes back and says, "Oh, there's one other thing I forgot to tell you," that's not going to go over well.
No.
Assuming that you are in the ballpark of an agreement and can resolve the issue, resolve it then and wrap up the negotiation. Or ask for time if you think you can land the candidate, but you need to get additional data, information, or talk to your boss. And as Rick was saying, on each of these events, you've got to set a specific time limit, agree on when you'll talk again.
Right. And it's important that you always reach out to the candidate as planned and either agree to land the candidate or pass and wish the candidate well. And if the candidate passes, ask them where you came up short. I mean, you're going to be talking to more candidates if they say no. So you want to know what sort of spoiled this deal for them.
You're right. If the candidate passes and you talk to them about it, it can help to make you stronger in the next negotiation. If the candidate accepts, let them know how excited you are and discuss the process and timeframes of their leaving their current job and when they can start with you. Remind them of all the positives of working with your team and let them know of the new learnings and experiences that they'll gain.
Right. And you want to state or restate how the position will meet or exceed their evaluation criteria, especially any issues that you may not have emphasized before. So never assume that they heard you the first time when you went over these things. If you feel they're important, re-emphasize them at the end. And make sure that you and the selected members of your team stay in touch with the candidate from the time of acceptance until they begin to work with you. You don't want a chance that a competitor comes swooping in and steals them from you.
Yeah, and we've all had experience with that. And so you want to make sure that you do exactly what Rick said.
Right. Keep in touch.
In summary, once a decision is made on the candidate you want to hire, it now falls to you as the hiring manager to close the deal. Since this takes a number of skills and abilities, this is a challenging time for any manager, especially with candidates who may have more than one offer. Among the skills needed are total preparation, showing a strong people orientation, being able to negotiate successfully, and the ability to resolve conflicts or issues. Finally, understanding that the recruiting process isn't complete until the new hire is at work.
We hope you have found this podcast useful and will come back again for more Management Mastery. If you have any comments about this or any of our episodes, or would like to find out more about our other services, including one-on-one coaching and group seminars for managers, visit our website at careercoachclass.com. Thanks for listening.